Hey everybody, Brian Batko and Ray Fittipaldo back with you from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, two of your Steelers beat writers with a Steelers OTAs report from Thursday down here at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on the south side. And Ray, this was it. Steelers wrapped up OTAs, really the most we've gotten to see this offseason, but it's going to ratchet up a little bit next week for the veteran minicamp where everybody's obligated to attend. It is not optional, it is not voluntary. It's mandatory. Teams fine you if you're not there. What do you kind of have on the dot? And I know Cam Heyward, who's here for OTAs, even though he certainly doesn't have to be, as the oldest player, longest tenured player on the team. I feel like he's kind of the voice of the team and speaks for a lot of what's going on. Did he help set the scene at all for what to expect next week?
Yeah, I mean, he was asked about it, Brian, but really he didn't put down any mandates that, TJ Watt has to be here, DK Metcalf has to be here. I think the expectation is, yes, TJ will be here, and yes, DK will be here. I think the biggest question is, will a certain quarterback sign his contract, and will he be here next week? I think that's probably the biggest storyline. But listen, I think TJ Watt is probably the second biggest storyline going into this offseason before we head to Latrobe for training camp, and we'll see what happens when he talks next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tight window now between today, Thursday, and the minicamp, which starts on Tuesday, and I would assume a lot of these guys even are probably starting to come in on Monday. We come in on Tuesday from a media perspective. So, I mean, this is really kind of gut check time for Aaron Rodgers if he's going to come for mandatory minicamp. Obviously, nothing mandatory about it if you're not on the roster. People can sign in July, people can sign in August, people can sign in September if they want to. But I think a lot of people have had this as kind of the line in the sand for when you really start to miss the part of the offseason that everybody is participating in if they're going to be part of the 2025 Steelers.
Yeah, and I think this minicamp date made sense all along, right? You sign your contract, you come in, you start to build relationships with your teammates, and then with Aaron and the receivers, you probably build on that late June, early July, and then you pick up again in training camp. You're right, it doesn't have to happen that way, but I think it would be best for all concerned if it does unfold that way. We're still in the dark a little bit. We don't exactly know what Aaron is going to do, but it seems like there's momentum heading in the right direction that he is going to be here eventually.
Yeah, to me at least, I think it's more about when than if he's going to sign, and obviously he could choose to continue to take his time and still show up for training camp, which Mike Tomlin said was the original line of demarcation for getting a guy in here. I mean, do you think him not being here for OTAs is maybe why we haven't seen or heard from DK Metcalf in this time? Maybe there was a plan all along that, hey, this is actually the day when this offense is really going to start taking shape?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's certainly part of it. I think DK might have some personal stuff going on too, where he wants to take care of before he truly starts his off season and his in season work. But yeah, listen, I've said all along, no matter what happens in minicamp next week, from a passing game perspective, and I'm strictly talking about quarterbacks, receivers, and tight ends, those guys can put a lot of work in California, Florida, wherever they want to meet, so they can sort of hit the ground running in training camp. I think it's important, if Aaron is going to be this quarterback, maybe to get here so there's that relationship with the offensive line. But you always want that to be good. We all think about Ben Roethlisberger and the relationships that he had with his offensive line. I do think that's a very important part of the chemistry that we'll see how that works out as well.
And between Rodgers and the staff, I mean, they had that hours-long meeting, how long ago now, that he came to the facility under the radar, and it was not a short visit. It seemed like it was a pretty extensive, let's get on the same page with Arthur Smith, Mike Tomlin and company, so I don't think that'll be as much of a challenge for him when he gets here. So, we haven't heard from Mike Tomlin either in this time, Ray. Maybe he's as sick of answering these questions as anybody. I do remember last year when Russell Wilson was new, Justin Fields was new. The difference, Arthur Smith was new too as the offensive coordinator. For all these guys who are here right now and have been here, maybe this is more about individual development within an offense that they already know for the most part. But I also remember Mike Tomlin saying last year that good participation and engagement is, it's expected and it's required when you have the goals of getting where they want to get to. So that's always the age-old thing with OTAs is how much do you take attendance? How much does it matter that guys are and are not there? And if it didn't matter at all, it wouldn't be any sort of leverage play for someone like TJ Watt who's going into the last year of his deal, or Cam Heyward at this time last year.
If you're Mike, it matters when it has to matter. And in situations like this, honestly, when the fall off is from Aaron Rodgers to Mason Rudolph, and that's quite significant. And I know a lot of people will say, well, Russell Wilson won 1 Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers won 1 Super Bowl. There's a little bit of a difference there in the pedigree of the quarterback, what he would have to do to run an NFL passing game. I think they're giving Aaron that little bit of leeway for a reason. They think he can handle it. If he does come in and training camp, they think he can handle it and he can get on the same page with everyone before the season starts.
What else did Captain Cam have to say? Anything else that stuck out to you?
No, really. We were just talking about how when he came in as a rookie, there was a lockout in 2011, and he didn't have to play because he had Aaron Smith in front of him. He had Ziggy Hood in front of him. He had a whole bunch of guys in front of him. I think he played 500 snaps combined his first 2 seasons. And we were asking him about Derek Harmon, being in a position where he's probably going to have to play quite a bit as a rookie. So, things are different. 14 years, Cam's been in the league. Certainly a different situation that Derek Harmon is stepping into compared to what Cam Heyward stepped into in 2011.
So Rodgers watch continues unabated. Gabe Davis watch is also on. He was visiting at the facility today. See him in person. Pretty big body. I mean, you can tell that when you see it on the roster, but I would understand if they want to add him to this mix at wide receiver. I guess the big question there is the ball in his court or is the ball in the Steelers' court to see what do they want to give a guy like him who I think his contract situation with all the dead money in Jacksonville, he's like a low-grade Russell Wilson from last year. He basically played for the vet minimum because he's still getting paid by the Jaguars.
Yeah, pay him a little bit over $1 million. And the question I would have for Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin, do you want to wait to see if Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback and get his input on a new receiver that you're probably going to have to sign, or do you just sign who you feel like is the best receiver and you have Aaron Rodgers work with him? Aaron Rodgers' past suggests maybe he would want to, I don't want to say pick, but have some input into that decision.
Yeah, we know he trusts his guys, and he's taken players like Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, all those guys with him when he's gone to new teams. So the other thing, too, though, this receiver point, they don't really have a true X-receiver backup for DK Metcalf. If something were to happen with him, you'd really be scrambling, kind of like the Mike Williams trade last year at the deadline. So we'll see if Gabe Davis does end up becoming a Steeler. Well, he's Ray Fittipaldo. I'm Brian Batko. Thanks for checking out all of our updates here from OTAs. And we should have more to talk about next week when minicamp gets started here on the South Side. Thanks for watching the Post-Gazette.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.